This is the Akai MPK Mini Play Mark III. It's a MIDI controller with some unique features like onboard sound, effects, and a built-in speaker. Those features combined with the features in the original MPK Mini Mark III make this a keyboard you definitely want to check out. Today, I'm going to cover the pros and the cons and help you decide if the Mini Play Mark III is right for you. I will tell you up front that I ended up liking this keyboard more than I thought that I would. I'm going to put links in the description below to where you can get the keyboard for yourself. So let's take a deeper dive into the keyboard itself, starting with the speaker. So the speaker is about the size of a watch face, and so naturally it doesn't have a lot of power to it. And in my opinion, it kind of does the onboard sounds and effects an injustice in that you can't actually hear the clarity that the sounds have if you use just the speaker. So on that note, I would suggest you guys use a headphone set or always plug it into an audio interface to get the best out of what the keyboard is actually giving. Now let's talk about the built-in sounds. Now it's nothing that's gonna like blow you out of the water, but between what actually comes on it and the effects that you can apply to it, I think you'll find plenty to keep you inspired. The sound a little bit dated, but not at all in a bad way, more like nostalgic, maybe like your old school Casio keyboards might have sounded in the sounds that may have come with those. So there really is a lot that you can do to get some inspiration. If you use the custom effects, I feel like you'll have plenty of sounds to play with, especially for what the keyboard is intended for, which is just kind of practicing or working on your melodies and being able to be mobile and doing that. The onboard effects include things like your basic filter, you have some EQ, you can apply reverb and chorus, you can also do some filtering as well as playing with the resonance, the release and the attack. So you have a few different things that you can actually do to the sound, so you have a lot of flexibility there, where if a sound doesn't sound how you want it to sound, you can kind of make your own sounds and be able to have some fun. Now the drum sounds also come in different packs or different drum sets. And they're nothing crazy either, but just enough so you can practice finger drumming in different styles as well. They have like a jazz drum set and a rock drum set and like an 808 bass drum set. And that's just a good way for you to practice your finger drumming. One thing to make sure you understand is that this keyboard does not come with a built-in sequencer, or you can't actually record anything on the keyboard itself. So if you did want to actually capture what you were playing, you would have to plug it into a audio interface that can actually capture it as input. But because I have so many VSTs and I have analog synths and things, I don't think that's a way that I would end up using the keyboard, but you can if you want. Now let's talk about the keys and the pads. Now the keys are exactly what you find on the Mini Mark III, and I'm pretty sure they're the same as the Mark II keyboards as well. I think there is a slight difference between the amount of like pressure or resistance you get from the keys. These feel a little more solid and less like plastic or toy feeling than the Mark II did. So these Mark III version keys are better in my opinion. And as far as the size of the keys, I have relatively big hands and I don't have an issue playing simple melodies and even some more intricate melodies. But if you think that's going to be an issue for you, it is something to consider. These are mini keys, right? It's all about portability. And so you pay for that with smaller keys. When it comes to the pads, you have your classic Akai pads, top notch. They always have the best pads out of any MIDI controllers or drum machines, whatever you want to call it. Akai got it on lock when it comes to the pads. And these pads are no different. Compared to the original Mini Mark III, the pads are slightly smaller just so they can fit the knobs at the top. So the pads are just a little bit thinner, but not enough to actually impact the functionality. Nothing you would notice. I only noticed it because I was literally comparing them side by side. It's not something that you would miss or cause an issue with your workflow, so not even worth thinking about. But otherwise, they hit just fine like Akai pads. When you hit them, the backlight also lights up for you. So yeah, they nailed it again with the pads. And for the keys, I would say they're like second best only to like the Mini Lab Mark II. The Arturia Mini Lab Mark II has some really nice keys as well. And I think these Akai keys come in a close second. So really good keys here as well. Now let's move on to the knobs, the buttons, and the other features of the keyboard. So there are a total of 4 knobs on the keyboard that you use to control the different effects, your filter, your EQ, your reverb, your chorus, etc. It's important to note that these are not infinity knobs like you have on the Mini Mark III original keyboard. And what that means for your workflow is when you want to change a given parameter or an effect setting, you have to actually pass through what is currently set at before you take over control and actually start changing the setting itself. And in typical Akai fashion, you have a joystick at the top left that's going to be your pitch and your modulation wheel rolled into one. Moving on down, you have your arpeggiator, and of course you can tap your tempo to kind of set the speed of your arpeggiator, or you can hold the on and off button and use the encoder on the right side to actually set the BPM manually. You have your typical octave up and down buttons, which are pretty self-explanatory. Then you have your full level and your note repeat buttons. Now these 2 buttons only apply to your pads. The full level button will make your pads trigger at full velocity anytime you touch them. And note repeat will do exactly what it sounds like. When you hold a pad, it will repeat the note on that pad or whatever the sound you have assigned. When it comes to the form factor of this, it is really small. You can slide it right into your backpack. It's the exact same size as the Mini Mark III, the original. If you have that, slide it right into your backpack. Really lightweight and mobile. I think it's only a little bit thicker than the Mark II was, so not much has changed between the generations of the keyboard. On the back side, you do have sustain, where you can plug in a sustain pedal. You have a headphone jack, and then you have USB as well, because you can power it through USB or you can power it through battery. Now that is one thing that also makes it special. You actually have batteries that you can put in here. You just need 4 AA batteries, and you can go completely mobile, and you don't even have to be connected to your computer by USB or anything like that. You can take it with or without your headphones, but with the battery option, that gives you a lot of flexibility to where you can play and create. Now, what about using this with your computer and inside of your DAW? It comes with some free software like MPC Beats and a Melodics trial membership, but make sure you download the software manager to access all of your free software as well as some free sounds and packs. When it comes to DAW control, there are some DAW presets for, of course, MPC Beats, for GarageBand, Logic Pro, Ableton Live, as well as FL Studio. Now, I didn't test all of the DAWs, but I am an FL Studio user, and the FL Studio preset didn't do exactly what I was looking for. So for FL Studio users, I do have a custom template that gives it what I think is the best workflow. It allows you to use your drums like a traditional MPC or drum machine. It keeps your MIDI data separate, which really makes it easy to arrange and eventually export your tracks. If you want to see how I have that set up, then be sure to check the link in the description and on the screen for that video and for my custom FL Studio workflow. Overall, the DAW control doesn't integrate as nicely as some other keyboards like the M-Audio Oxygen Pro line of keyboards, but you do have some functionality, and you still can use custom MIDI mappings to give it even more functionality inside of the DAW to work the way that you want it to. But because there are only 4 knobs, I feel like the DAW control is going to remain somewhat limited. But again, you do have some options there. Now, who is this keyboard for? In my opinion, this keyboard is for those of you who want to practice your finger drumming, or who want to practice playing melodies while you're on the go and don't want to drag your computer or anything else around, and you really want to be mobile. But if you're going to always have your computer with you, or if you usually work in a home studio or desk type of setting, then I would recommend you go with the original Mark III and not the Play, because you're going to get a lot better functionality inside of the computer with the original Mark III, being that it has more knobs, and that also you have transport controls like play, pause, and stop that you can program on that one as well. So you're going to get more functionality with your computer and with the DAW with the original Mark III than you will get with the Mark III Play. Me personally, I'm usually here in my home studio or at another studio, so I don't see myself getting a lot of mileage out of this keyboard. And plus, I already own the Mark III original, so I don't see myself actually using this one a ton. but that doesn't mean it's not right for you. Consider what your needs are. Consider the things that I've shown you here today and make the right decision. Link will be in the description to where you can get one if you like. That's going to be it for this video, guys. Make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button for me. It really helps the channel. I appreciate it. Until next time, guys, this is Al B, and we are out. Yes, sir. You keep trying to focus on me. Leave me alone. Don't focus on me. Can you focus on me? It keeps focusing on me. All right.